$5,100. That's what a 2-hour visit to the ER can cost you if you don't have health insurance. And that's on the lower end. And people who don't have health insurance usually are in the lower income households, so this could very easily be 2 months worth of salary for them. You may have heard of stories of people filing for bankruptcies over medical bills. I've heard of plenty myself, but now I have a real world scenario in front of me. Someone recently shared their medical bill with me. They don't have $5,000 sitting in their bank account, and obviously they don't have insurance. They reached out hoping to get some help on how to handle this payment. The first thing I told them was to not ignore the bill. The bill does not just go away. Their next question was, what if they did ignore the bill? What's the worst that can happen if you ignore a medical bill? Like any other bill, such as a credit card, the billing department may reach out to you frequently. If the payment still isn't made, it's possible that your account will be handed over to a debt collection agency, and they can be very persistent in seeking repayment. And if you still don't make the payment and the situation continues, they could take legal action against you. And when they take legal action, they make sure they ruin your credit score, but more importantly, they could come after your wages. That's why I always advise not just to ignore the bill. The fact is that most of these bills can be negotiated, especially if you don't have insurance. I told this person to give the hospital billing department a call and explain their situation. And to their surprise, that one call resulted in the $5,100 bill being cut in half. The next thing I told them was to request an itemized bill. An itemized bill is a detail of the list of everything that you were charged for. Remember, many of these hospitals won't send you a detailed bill. They might only send you a summary instead. Common errors that you might find on a hospital bill include duplicate charges, charges for services you did not get, charges for unnecessary procedures, incorrect prices, and so on. In this case, there were no errors on the hospital bill, but keep in mind that 4 out of 5 hospital bills have errors. That's 80%. Anyway, after the itemized bill, the billing department gave them another form to fill out if they needed further help, and this form was called the financial assistance application. As you can see on this application, you would have to respond to them with 2 forms of income verification, and this patient mailed their W-2 and their pay stubs, and the $5,100 bill got reduced to just $600 based on their income. Turns out they could not pay the $600 either, so they got put onto a payment plan, making $50 per month. So the first point is to call right away and negotiate to the best of your ability. Second, ask for an itemized bill. And third, get on a payment plan if you can't afford to pay the full amount. Hospitals usually are willing to work with you, so if the total amount feels too high, you usually can ask for a payment plan. Many hospitals are required by federal and state law to offer help to patients who can't pay their medical bills, especially for services deemed medically necessary, like hospital stays and emergency room visits. Under the Affordable Care Act, or ACA, nonprofit hospitals must have a clear policy that explains who can get financial assistance and whether that help includes free or discounted care. Hospital and clinic bills typically don't accrue interest, unlike your monthly credit card bill. This means that paying off your hospital bill in installments will likely be more manageable in the long run than making monthly payments on your credit cards to pay off a medical expense. If your application for financial assistance is denied, you can usually appeal this decision within the hospital. You might also consider offering a lump sum payment for a lower total amount. For instance, if your bill is $1,000 and they want you to pay $100 a month, think about whether you could offer them to pay a one-time payment of, let's say, $500 to settle the entire bill. Then there are times when people have health insurance, but they choose to self-pay and negotiate with the hospital later. So when is it a good idea to skip your insurance altogether? Are there situations where you should self-pay instead of going through your insurance? Also, is it against the law not to use your health insurance? First, it is not illegal to self-pay if you have insurance. When the deductible year is nearly over and you haven't come close to meeting your deductible, it might be worth considering paying out of pocket instead of using your health insurance. Since deductibles reset each year, paying cash for a doctor's visit at the end of the year can make sense if you're far from meeting your deductible. Once you self-pay, you may be able to negotiate an even lower bill later on. I did this myself in college, and I've seen this many times. People have high deductible plans for worst case scenarios, and if for whatever reason they need to go to a doctor, they self-pay and negotiate with the hospital later on. Sometimes paying cash can be cheaper than going through your insurance. Just remember that any money you put out of pocket won't count towards your deductible if you don't use your insurance. If you're not getting anywhere with negotiating, work with a patient advocate. Patient advocates are healthcare professionals, often nurses, who can help you understand your bill and explore payment options. They are very familiar with medical bill statements and can identify errors, overcharges, and can assist you in negotiating your hospital bills with the provider. To find an advocate, check with the hospital or your insurance provider, and they should be able to guide you what to do. Now, what if your medical debt has gone to a third-party collection agency? They might agree to a reasonable repayment or a settlement plan. I've had a friend who settled their $4,000 bill for $1,500 with a debt collection agency. Depending on the debt collection agency, they may agree to a lump sum or a specific number of payments, even if the total is less than what you originally owe. Just make sure you can meet your obligation and can get an agreement in writing if you make an offer. If you have some time and want to explore more options, you can check out websites like $4. It's a nonprofit that helps people with medical bills and find financial help through something called charity care. Because of the Affordable Care Act, nonprofit hospitals are required to offer free or discounted care to patients who meet certain income limits. Finally, if none of this works, check out fair market prices for services that you receive, which reflects the typical charges by doctors in your area. You can find this information at fairhealthconsumer.org. If you paid more than what the fair market prices are, you can always go back to your hospital and make an argument. And one last tip, if you get sued over a medical bill and end up in front of a judge, showing that you're making regular payments, even if it's just $50 a month, could work in your favor. So whatever you do, try to make at least some payment instead of completely ignoring the bill. The best part is that these payments don't accrue any interest. For future medical bills, especially those with higher deductibles, should really look into opening a health savings account or an HSA. The money that you put into these accounts can be deducted from your taxes or comes from your paycheck before taxes are taken out. Plus, any growth in the account's value isn't taxed as long as you use it for a qualified medical expense. One of the best things about an HSA is that it has triple tax benefits. When you add the money, when it grows, and when you take it out. No taxes whatsoever. When you're negotiating a medical bill, the key is to start early. It's easier to work out a payment plan when you have weeks to spare rather than waiting until the bill is almost due. 12 years ago, when I was in college, I tried some of these tricks. I asked for an itemized bill, applied for financial assistance, and then paid off the debt in monthly installments. It looks like not much has changed since.